Have you left federal service and maybe you're wondering, how do I go about filing for a deferred retirement application? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? Do I have to go back to my old agency? Well, today's FERS Federal Fact Check, and by the way, I'm Tammy Flanagan, is from a reader named Norman. And Norman wants to know about filing his application for a deferred retirement. So let's take a look at Norman's question and then talk about what he needs to do to actually make this happen. So Norman says, I'm a vested former federal employee with the Naval Shipyard. I left federal employment in 2007 with 7+ years of service, and I'm currently age 59. I'm interested to know if making an application for FERS retirement is a simple process or one that would require an advisor. I no longer have physical access to the Human Resources Office. It is located on a secure site, nor would I know whom to contact there. Thank you. All right, Norman, so let's kind of break it down a little bit and just talk about how do you even qualify for a deferred retirement? And what is a deferred retirement, right? So this is a retirement benefit. In most cases today, we're talking about FERS, although CSRS also has deferred retirement, that's payable to an employee who left government service with at least 5 years of creditable civilian service. Now they can have military service on top of that, but you need at least 5 years of civilian service credit. And they weren't eligible, they weren't old enough to retire when they left. So for instance, if you had 5 years of service or 7.5 years, then at age 62, you would be eligible to claim that deferred retirement. I think you said you were 59, so you'll have a couple of years left to wait, and then you'll be able to file that application. It won't be reduced for age. It'll be based on the service you had when you left and the salary. Now, for someone who had 20 or more years of service, then they can claim that deferred benefit a little bit earlier at age 60. And there's some folks who stay a full 30 years, but they leave government service before they reach their minimum retirement age of somewhere between 55 and 57. So in those cases, you can claim the deferred unreduced retirement at your minimum retirement age. So somebody with 30 years of service, maybe they were 50 years old, and they can wait until they're 57 or 56 and 10 months at their MRA to claim that deferred retirement with no age reduction. Now, FERS also has an option. We call it MRA plus 10. So the employee had at least 10 years of creditable service before they separated. So they have the option, instead of waiting until they're 62 to claim the benefit, they could claim it as early as their minimum retirement age, but it would be substantially reduced because of their age. So in Norman's case, he's going to have to wait until age 62 anyway to claim the benefit because he had less than 10 years, but more than 5 years to be eligible. So when the time comes, Norman, you're going to need to file an application. Of course, it's the government, so there's a form. You can find this form at the Office of Personnel Management's website, and I've got the address right here on the screen, opm.gov/forms. It's a retirement and insurance form, and it's simply called an application for deferred or postponed retirement benefits. Fairly simple form to fill out. Take you a few minutes to fill it out. The address where to send it to OPM is on the form. You don't necessarily need any documentation of your service. If you have it, that would be helpful to attach it. If you're married, you're going to need a copy of your marriage certificate. If you've gone through a divorce, you might need a copy of the divorce decree. If you've paid for military service deposit during your career, include that documentation if you have it. So anything you have that's going to support that retirement, document your service, that might be fine to include. But otherwise, you really just need to send in the application to get the ball rolling. And I would send this in about 3 months before you want that check to come. And even with that much notice, it still might not be exactly on time, but you should get it fairly quickly from OPM. So the computation of that deferred retirement is going to be based on your salary at the time you left. We call it your high 3 average salary, your length of creditable service that you had prior to leaving federal service. And as a FERS employee, that whole thing is multiplied by 1%. So 1% times high 3 average times years and months of service. Now, cost of living adjustments will be added to this once you start receiving it and once you're over age 62. So under FERS, we call it a diet COLA, because if the cost of living is between 2 and 3% for everybody in the country, FERS retirees get 2%. And if the cost of living adjustment goes up 3% or higher, FERS gets 1% less. So hence the name diet COLA, but at least it will maintain some of its value over time as you receive that benefit. So let's take a look at Norman's example with 7.5 years or 7 years and 6 months of service, let's say is what he had. His high 3 average salary most likely would have been the final 3 years of his federal career. In this case, from 2005 until he left it in 2007. So I came up with just an example of what the high 3 roughly is going to look like. This is going to be a much more detailed calculation when OPM runs the numbers, but just to give you a general idea, let's say he was a GS11 step 6 in Seattle, Washington, because I think Norman had told us that's the part of the country where he worked, and there was locality adjustments on salaries in that area. So in 2005, we have his salary was $61,503. In 2006, that same GS step and grade level went up to $63,551. And then by the time he left government service, his salary was up to $64,992. Now this is actually going to be a daily average. There could have been step increase in there. There could have even been a promotion in there. But just to give you some feel for what that high 3 would look like, the average of those 3 salary rates is $63,348. That would be around the basis of his retirement benefit. So we multiply 1% times his 7.5 years of salary times that high 3 average, and we're going to get a benefit that's equal to $4,751 a year, sorry, and then divide that by 12 months to provide him with a $395 a month gross or unreduced FERS benefit. So yes, Norman, you do have something to show for that 7.5 years of government service. That's great news, right? But you have to wait until you're 62 to claim that benefit. Now, when the time comes, if you have additional questions or you want to inquire more about claiming this deferred retirement, you can contact OPM. This is information about how to contact them through their phone service. I would encourage you to make any of those phone calls early in the morning because they do get very busy. It's still a paper-based process, so you'll be mailing in a copy of that paper form that you fill out, signing it with an ink pen. But that's what gets the ball rolling. That's how you start filing for your deferred retirement application. So you start the process, make sure you're aware of when you're entitled to it. Don't wait a couple of years too long. I've had people who file for deferred benefits when they're 70 and they could have been receiving benefits all the way back to age 62. So there's no reason to delay past age 62. But in your case, you'll have to wait until closer to 62 to file. So this is Tammy Flanagan for today's FERS Federal Fact Check. Thanks for joining me.